Thank you everyone for attending today. My name is Todd Rogers and I'm the lead change designer for People Change Incorporated. I will be walking you through our proposal for change here at GP Corporation. First, let's recap on the facts. GP Corporation designs and builds custom training programs for Fortune 500 companies. The three key structural components are sales, development, and operations. Senior leadership's growth strategy for the past 5 years has included accelerating momentum by acquiring boutique training development companies. Up to this point, there's been a 20% average growth when looking at the past 5 years. But there's an unquantified perception that the integration of each of these boutiques has impacted GP culture negatively, according to 4 indicators. First, there's been a challenge onboarding and retaining boutique employees. Secondly, there's an unquantified perception that the work climate overall is deteriorating. Third, there's an unquantified perception that management practices have changed for the worse. And finally, performance over the last 2 years has not been as strong as the 3 years prior to that, even though the overall growth for the past 5 years continues to be 20%. That's where we come in. You've asked us to help you design a survey made up of items based off of these perceptions and distribute that survey to the entire company. However, we'd like to recommend taking a step back and gather some qualitative data first to ensure that we're going after the correct underlying issues. By that we mean either conducting in-depth interviews with key voices or running several focus groups to better understand what the key issues are and also to give help guiding the themes for the survey item development. There's benefits to both, and we're going to cover those briefly. In an in-depth interview, the interview follows an interview guide and leads the participants through a series of open-ended questions with the goal of drawing out the participants' experiences and perspectives. The sequence of questions usually start with comfortable, non-threatening questions and then transition to big-picture questions like, walk me through. The goal is to create an environment where the participant continues to share information until no new information is left to share. The interview does this using a number of probing techniques, nodding one's head, asking the participant to tell more, or asking more detailed follow-up questions like who, where, when, and how. Even asking clarification questions like, what did you mean by that? The one question an interview is counseled not to ask is, why? Because that could be perceived as a judgment and might cause the interview to shut down. Whereas in-depth interviews happen with one participant at a time, focus groups seek to get information from a group working together to flesh out experiences that they share. They are useful in understanding how groups talk about issues and for understanding the rules and norms of a group. Some of the benefits of asking a group a question is that they listen to each other's answers and compare what they are thinking and then expand on the original insight. Also, if membership is selected properly, participation as a group can put people at ease, making it less intimidating, even enjoyable, to participate in the discussion. It also provides a bit of validation on what is shared, both because it allows other members to comment, but also participants will be less likely to share misleading information in front of their peers. Usually focus groups are made up between 5 to 10 participants, and the guidance is to run 3 to 5 focus groups for each strata or meaningful subset. For example, we would probably want to make sure not to mix managers with employees because the power differential might negatively impact participation. That would translate to a strata, which means we would want to run 3 to 5 manager focus groups and 3 to 5 employee focus groups. Once this narrative data is gathered, we will need to look for overarching themes that are repeated through the testimony. And once we define this coding structure, we will encode all the narrative data and use those to define the items for the survey, which will then allow us to confirm the experiences, thoughts, and ideas shared by the majority. Our recommendation is to start by doing in-depth interviews with representative leaders from each of the 5 business units. This will give us a broad look at how the issues are viewed by those shaping the trajectory of each business unit. It will also help us develop a focus group guide. We will then run focus groups with 3 to 5 members of each business unit, including a group for the boutiques. We will be sure to include at least 1 member from sales, 1 from operations, and 1 from the training and development group. The data from the in-depth interviews and the focus groups will then help us to develop evidence-based survey items. We will then distribute this survey and be able to confirm how the ideas and experience expressed by the leadership and the focus groups resonate within the entire organization. I'd like to stop now and take any questions.